Hello everyone, and welcome back to Cowboys and Cattle. In our last episode, Lou made the decision to reveal she's Ty's sister-in-law, has known him since he was 17 years old. Ty couldn't remember anything, but part of him desperately wanted to believe her. He asked for pictures of his wife and daughter, the faces from his dreams that haunted him. Lou showed him photos despite Agent Morrison's warnings about the psychological risks. Upon seeing Amy and Lindy's faces, Ty tried desperately to force his memories to return, putting immense pressure on his mind. His head started hurting from the mental strain. Blood began trickling from Ty's nose from neurological stress as he fought against the memory suppression conditioning. He whispered Amy, recognizing her name for the first time in 4 years. Then his eyes rolled back and he collapsed, unconscious. FBI agents rushed to help as Lou screamed for an ambulance. The episode ended with Ty unconscious and bleeding on the floor. No one knowing if his desperate attempt to remember had caused permanent brain damage. If you've been terrified for Ty's condition, please hit that like button and subscribe. Today's episode takes us inside Ty's mind as he lies unconscious. We'll see fragments of memories breaking through the barriers, disjointed, confusing, incomplete pieces of a life he can't quite grasp. And when Ty wakes up in the hospital, he'll face a devastating realization. He doesn't know what's real anymore. The perfect life he thought he had at Silver Creek might be a lie. But the fragmentary memories of Amy and Lindy and Heartland might also be dreams or fabrications. This is episode 60, and Ty Borden is lost between two realities, unable to tell which one is true. Darkness, Ty's unconscious mind. Darkness, complete and total darkness. No sound, no sensation, no awareness, just emptiness. Then, slowly, like dawn breaking over a distant horizon, fragments of light began to pierce the darkness. Not clear images, not coherent memories, just flashes, glimpses. Pieces of something that might be real or might be dreams. A voice, male, gravelly and warm. Sometimes it's the simplest things that mean the most. Ty. The words floated in the darkness with no context, no face attached to them. Just wisdom spoken by someone whose name Ty couldn't remember, but whose presence felt safe. Felt like home. Another flash. A barn. The smell of hay and horses, sunlight streaming through dusty windows. The sensation of peace, of belonging, of being exactly where he was supposed to be. Then the image shattered like glass, dissolving back into darkness. Another fragment emerged. A woman's face, but younger than the photo Lou had shown him. Blonde hair pulled back. Blue eyes that looked at him with annoyance, suspicion. Something cold and distant. Emmy's voice, I don't need your help. I can handle the horses myself. The words were sharp, defensive. This wasn't love. This was antagonism. Conflict. Two people who didn't like each other. Ty's unconscious mind tried to hold on to the image, tried to understand it, but it slipped away before he could grasp it fully. A truck. He was in a truck. Old, beat up. Everything he owned in the back, driving up a dirt road toward what? Toward somewhere that would change everything. The truck stopped. Through the windshield, Ty could see a ranch, beautiful, sprawling, with horses and paddocks and mountains in the background. It felt significant, felt like arriving somewhere he'd been searching for his whole life without knowing it. A woman rode past on a horse. The same blonde woman whose face he'd just seen. She glanced at the truck, at him, and her expression was dismissive, unimpressed. Like she'd already decided he wasn't worth her time. Young Ty, because somehow Ty knew this was a younger version of himself, felt a spike of irritation. Who was this woman to judge him? He hadn't even gotten out of the truck yet. The fragment dissolved. The darkness again. But briefer this time. The memories were coming faster now, tumbling over each other in chaotic succession. The same older male voice, still without a face. Everyone deserves a second chance, Ty. You've had a rough go of it. But that doesn't define who you are. You get to decide. That the words settled into Ty's unconscious mind like an anchor. Second chance. Someone had given him a second chance. Someone had believed in him when maybe no one else did. Flash. Working in the barn. Mucking stalls. Hard physical labor that felt good, felt right. Horses moving in their stalls around him, their presence calming and familiar. The blonde woman, Amy, entering the barn, her expression still cold, still suspicious. She didn't trust him, didn't want him there. But something had changed, something in the way she looked at him now. Less dismissive, more curious, cautious but interested. Young Ty felt defensive, felt the need to prove himself to this woman whose opinion somehow mattered more than it should. The memory fragmented, scattered. Another flash, nighttime. A campfire. Sitting across from Amy, the flames between them casting flickering shadows on their faces. She was talking, telling him something important, and young Ty was listening with complete attention. This time her expression was different, softer, open, the walls between them coming down, and young Ty felt something he'd never felt before. A pull toward this woman, a connection forming despite their rocky beginning. Flash. Amy teaching him about horses. Her hands gentle on a nervous mare. Her voice soothing. Young Ty watching, learning. Amazed by her natural gift with animals. Their eyes meeting over the horse's back. A moment of recognition passing between them. Acknowledgement that they saw each other now. Really saw each other. The memory dissolved, but the feeling remained. That sense of connection, of understanding, of two people discovering they fit together better than either had expected. Flash. The older man's face finally appeared, though still blurry and indistinct. Weathered features, kind eyes, a cowboy hat, sitting on a porch, offering Ty advice about what? The details were fuzzy, but the emotional weight was clear. This man cared about him. This man was family. You're part of this family now, Ty. That means something. That means you belong. Belonging. The word resonated through Ty's unconscious mind. He belonged somewhere. Had been part of something bigger than himself. Another fragment. Amy laughing at something Ty said. Her whole face lighting up, the sound of her laughter like music. Young Ty feeling proud that he'd made her laugh. Feeling warmth spreading through his chest. When had she stopped looking at him with suspicion? When had it become this easy affection, comfortable companionship? The beginning of something deeper. Flash. A kiss. Their first kiss. Under the stars outside the barn. Amy's lips soft against his. Her hand on his chest. His arms around her waist. The world narrowing down to just the two of them. Just this moment, just this perfect connection. Young Ty, feeling like he'd finally found what he'd been searching for his whole life. Not just a home, not just a family, but her, Amy. The memory fragmented, but the sensation remained. Overwhelming love, complete certainty. The feeling of finding the person you were meant to be with. Flash. Another woman's face. Older than Amy. Familiar. Dark hair, kind eyes, a warm smile. She was helping him with something. What? The details unclear, but the feeling of gratitude, of appreciation for her support, that came through clearly. This was Lou. This was the woman who'd shown him the photos. His sister-in-law, part of the family that had taken him in. Lou's voice. We're so glad you're here, Ty. Amy's happier than I've seen her in years. The words carried weight, carried meaning. Young Ty had made Amy happy. It brought something good into her life, just as she'd brought something good into his. Flash. Back to the older man. Clearer now, sitting at a kitchen table, drinking coffee, talking about horses and life and what it means to be a good man. A man's character isn't measured by what he says, Ty. It's measured by what he does when nobody's watching. You've got good character. Don't let anyone tell you different. The approval in those words, the acceptance. Young Ty had needed that approval desperately, had needed someone to believe in him. Jack. The name surfaced from somewhere deep in Ty's consciousness. This man's name was Jack. He couldn't remember the last name, couldn't remember all the details, but he knew that name. Jack. Another flash. A little girl. Young, maybe 3 or 4 years old, hair like Amy's. But Ty's eyes. She was running toward him, arms outstretched, shouting something he couldn't quite hear. Young Ty, no. Older Ty now. A father. Scooping her up and spinning her around, her laughter filling the air. The sensation of pure joy, of complete love, of holding the most precious thing in his world. Lindy, his daughter, the child from his dreams. Flash, teaching the little girl about horses. Her small hand in his as they approached a gentle mare, her eyes wide with wonder, and a little bit of fear. Father, Ty's voice. It's okay, sweetheart. Horses can sense when you're scared, but they can also sense when you're brave. Show her how brave you are. The little girl, Lindy, taking a deep breath and reaching out to touch the horse's nose, her face lighting up with delight when the horse nuzzled her hand gently. Father Ty feeling overwhelming pride. His daughter. His brave, wonderful daughter. The memory fractured, scattered into pieces. More flashes now, coming faster. More chaotic. Amy pregnant, glowing, Ty's hand on her swollen belly feeling their baby kick. The wedding guys, Amy in white, Ty in a suit, promising to love each other forever, working together in the barn, their movements synchronized after years of partnership. Family dinners around a table, everyone laughing and talking. Lou making a joke. Jack offering wisdom. Amy's hand finding Ty's under the table. Lindy showing him a drawing she'd made of their family. All of it jumbled together. All of it fragmentary. Pieces of a life that felt real but also felt impossibly distant, like looking at someone else's memories through a foggy window. And then, cutting through all of it, a different memory, darker, more frightening. Flash, driving alone at night. Headlights in the rearview mirror, and sense of unease. Something wasn't right. The headlights getting closer. Too close. Impact. The world spinning. Metal crunching. Pain. Then darkness. A different kind of darkness than before. Not peaceful unconsciousness, but violent, forced, terrifying darkness. The memory shattered before Ty could grasp more details. But the fear remained. Something bad had happened. Something that had taken him away from Amy and Lindy and Heartland. Flash. A room he didn't recognize. Voices asking him questions he couldn't answer. Confusion. Panic. Not knowing where he was or who he was or how he'd gotten there. Someone telling him his name was Noah Smith. Someone telling him he'd been in an accident. Someone constructing a new identity, a new reality, while Ty was too confused and vulnerable to resist. The memory fragments were coming so fast now they were almost painful, overlapping, contradicting, making it impossible to tell what was real and what was fabricated. Silver Creek Ranch. But was it really a job he'd chosen? Or had someone placed him there, controlled him there, made him think he was free when really he was a prisoner? The faces of people at the ranch, were they friends? Or were they jailers? How could he tell the difference? And Amy's face. Lindy's face. Jack's face. Lou's face. Were they real family? Or were they dreams his mind had created to fill the emptiness of not knowing who he was? Everything was fragmentary. Everything was questionable. Everything was... Ty's eyes opened slowly. Not all at once, but gradually, awareness returning in stages. The first thing he noticed was white ceiling tiles above him. Sterile and clean and completely unfamiliar. The second thing he noticed was the beeping. Steady, rhythmic beeping of medical equipment. A heart monitor tracking his pulse. The third thing was the sensation in his arm. An IV line. He was in a hospital. Tai lay completely still, not moving, barely breathing, just staring at the ceiling as his mind tried to process what had happened. He remembered looking at the photos on Lou's phone, remembered Amy's face and Lindy's face, remembered trying desperately to force his memories to return. And then, nothing. Blackness. Until now. Except not quite blackness. There had been something in between. Dreams, memories. He wasn't sure. Fragments of images and voices and sensations that felt real but also felt impossibly distant. His head hurt, not the sharp, stabbing pain from before, but a dull, persistent ache that suggested his brain had been through trauma. Tai turned his head slightly, looking around the hospital room without sitting up. Private room. Medical equipment. A window showing darkness outside, evening or night. And through a glass door he could see movement in the hallway. Lou, standing with Agent Morrison and Agent Walsh. Lou's face was red and swollen like she'd been crying. The agents were talking to her, their expressions serious but not unkind. Consoling her, reassuring her about something. About him, Tai realized. They were reassuring Lou about his condition, which meant his condition had been serious enough to require reassurance. Tai watched them through the glass, feeling oddly detached, like he was observing a scene that didn't quite involve him. Lou obviously cared about him, and much was clear from her distress, but Tai couldn't connect emotionally to that care, because he didn't remember their relationship beyond what she'd told him. Sister-in-law. She'd said she was his sister-in-law, which meant Amy was her sister, which meant everything Lou had told him might be true, or it might not be. How could he know? How could he trust anything when his own mind couldn't be trusted, when his memories might be real or might be conditioned fabrications? Tai turned his head back to stare at the ceiling, not alerting Lou or the agents that he was awake. He needed time to think, needed time to process. Just a few days ago. Was it really only a few days? He'd been living at Silver Creek Ranch, working with horses, enjoying the simplicity of a life where he knew his role and purpose. Noah Smith, ranch hand, good with horses. No past to worry about, no complicated history to navigate. It had been not perfect, but comfortable, manageable. A life he understood, even if he couldn't remember anything before it. And now he'd been told that entire life was a lie, that Noah Smith wasn't real, that he was actually someone named Tai Borden, who had a wife and daughter and a ranch in Canada and a whole history that had been stolen from him. The FBI agents had drugged him, taken him from Silver Creek, brought him to a safe house. They'd told him impossible stories about memory erasure and criminal organizations. Lou had shown him photos of people she claimed were his family. And when he'd looked at those photos, something had broken in his mind. The pressure of trying to remember, combined with whatever conditioning had been used to suppress his memories, had caused a physical collapse. Tai touched his nose gingerly, feeling the dried blood there. He'd been bleeding. From trying to remember, from pushing too hard against barriers in his own mind. What kind of life was this? What kind of existence where your own memories could hurt you? Where trying to know who you are causes physical damage? The fragments from when he was unconscious, were those real memories breaking through, or were they dreams his traumatized brain had created? How could he tell the difference? The first meeting with Amy, had that really happened? The antagonism, the gradual warming, the eventual love? Or had his mind fabricated that entire progression? because Lou told him he'd married Amy and his brain tried to fill in the blanks. Jack's wisdom. The campfire conversations. The feeling of belonging. Real. Or imagined. Lindy, showing him her horse. That little girl's proud, happy face. A real memory or a dream based on seeing her photo? Tide had no way to know. No framework for distinguishing truth from fabrication. His entire sense of reality had become unreliable. At Silver Creek Ranch, at least he'd known what was real. The horses were real. The work was real. The room where he slept was real. He might not have had a past, but he'd had a present he could trust. Now he had a past he couldn't remember, and a present he couldn't trust. People telling him stories about who he was. Photos of strangers who were supposedly his family. Fragments of maybe memories that might be truth or might be trauma-induced hallucinations. Ty continued staring at the ceiling, his mind churning through impossible questions. If he was really Ty Borden, why couldn't he remember anything? If the memory erasure was reversible, why hadn't seeing Amy and Lindy's photos unlocked everything? Why were his memories still just fragments and glimpses rather than clear, coherent experiences? And if he wasn't Ty Borden, if this was all an elaborate mistake or deception, then who was he? Where had he come from before Silver Creek Ranch? Why did Noah Smith feel more real than Ty Borden, even though everyone insisted it was a false identity? The questions spiraled endlessly. No answers. No certainty. No solid ground to stand on. Through the glass door, Lou noticed Ty's eyes were open. Her face lit up with relief, and she immediately moved toward his room, the agents following. But Ty didn't turn his head to acknowledge them, just kept staring at the ceiling, feeling the weight of his confusion pressing down like a physical force. The door opened. Lou entered, her voice gentle and hopeful.
T, you're awake. How are you feeling?
How was he feeling? The question seemed absurd. How was someone supposed to feel when they didn't know who they were, what was real, whether their entire life was truth or fiction? Tiffany finally turned his head to look at Lou. Her face was so hopeful, so relieved to see him awake. She genuinely cared about him. He could see that. But caring didn't make the situation less impossible.
I don't know what's real anymore.
The words came out quiet, emotionless, just a simple statement of fact. Lou's face crumpled slightly, her hope dimming as she heard the emptiness in his voice.
The memories you have of Amy and Lindy and Heartland, those are real, Ty. Your life with us was real.
How do I know that? How do I know the fragments I saw when I was unconscious are real memories and not dreams? How do I know anything?
Agent Morrison entered the room behind Lou, her expression professional but concerned. Tiding, you're experiencing disorientation that's common after neurological stress. Your brain is trying to reconcile conflicting information. The false identity you were conditioned to accept versus the real memories that are trying to resurface. That creates confusion about what's real.
Conflicting information. That's one way to put it. Another way is that I have no idea who I am or what to believe, and every answer I get just creates more questions.
He turned his head back to the ceiling, unable to look at Lou's devastated face or Agent Morrison's clinical concern anymore.
Just a few days ago, I was living at Silver Creek Ranch. I had a job I was good at, friends, a place to live. It wasn't complicated. I was Noah Smith, and that was enough.
But Ty, that wasn't real. Noah Smith is a fiction created by...
Was it less real than this? Was it less real than lying in a hospital bed not knowing if my own memories are genuine or manufactured? At least as Noah Smith, I knew what was true even if I didn't know what came before. Now I don't know anything.
The room fell silent. Agent Walsh had entered as well, standing near the door, his expression showing he understood Tez's struggle even if he didn't know how to help. Ty, I know this is overwhelming. I know it feels impossible. But we have specialists who can help you distinguish real memories from conditioned responses. People who work with trauma victims and help them recover their authentic identities.
And how long will that take? Weeks? Months? Years? How long am I supposed to exist in this limbo of not knowing who I am?
As long as it takes, but Ty, you won't be alone. You'll have people helping you, supporting you, Amy and Lindy waiting for you, Jack and the rest of the family ready to welcome you home.
Ty felt a spike of something, anger, frustration, at the mention of those names.
They're strangers to me, Lou. I know you want me to feel connected to them, but I don't. When you say Amy's name or Lindy's name or Jack's name, I feel nothing. No recognition. No love. Just the pressure of everyone expecting me to remember people I can't remember.
Lou's eyes filled with tears. Agent Morrison put a hand on her shoulder, silently suggesting she step back and let Ty have space.
I understand this is hard. I understand you need time. But Ty, they love you. Even if you don't remember them, they love you.
That doesn't help me. That just makes it worse. Because if they love me and I can't love them back because I don't remember them, then what kind of relationship can we have? What kind of husband am I if I don't love my wife? What kind of father if I don't love my daughter?
The questions hung in the air, unanswerable, because the truth was that Ty was right. Even if he recovered his memories, even if he learned his true identity, the relationships he'd had before would never be the same. 4 years of absence combined with memory erasure had changed everything irreversibly. Agent Morrison moved closer to Ty's bedside, her voice gentle but firm. Ty, right now your only job is to rest and recover from the neurological stress. You collapsed because you pushed too hard trying to force memories. We need to let your brain heal before attempting any more recovery work.
And then what? Then we start the long, painful process of trying to figure out who I really am while everyone around me already knows and expects me to become that person again.
We start helping you rediscover yourself at your own pace, not forcing anything, not pushing, just gently helping you reconnect with your authentic identity. Turi closed his eyes, exhausted by the conversation and by the weight of everything pressing down on him. He heard movement in the room. Lou leaving, probably too emotional to stay. The agents discussing something in low voices near the door, medical staff coming in to check his vitals. But Ty tuned it all out. Just lay there with his eyes closed, retreating into the only space where he had any control, his own mind confused and unreliable as it was. The episode ended on Ty lying motionless in the hospital bed. Eyes closed, face expressionless. Through the glass door, Lou could be seen crying, while Agent Morrison tried to comfort her. The hospital room, sterile and cold, machines beeping steadily, tracking Ty's heart rate and blood pressure and other vital signs that said nothing about the psychological trauma he was experiencing. Just days ago, Ty had been Noah Smith living a simple life at Silver Creek Ranch. Now he was Ty Borden, supposedly, lying in a hospital bed, unable to distinguish real memories from conditioned fabrications. The fragments he'd experienced while unconscious, Amy and Jack and Lou and Lindy, were they genuine memories breaking through? Or were they dreams his traumatized mind created to make sense of the photos he'd seen? Ty didn't know, couldn't know, had no framework for determining truth in a world where even his own thoughts couldn't be trusted. All he could do was stare at the ceiling and wonder, what is real? Who am I really? And if I can't trust my own mind, how can I ever trust anything again? The questions without answers. The confusion without resolution. The identity crisis without end. Ty Borden was awake, but in every way that mattered, he was still lost. That concludes today's episode. The episode started with mysterious, fragmented flashbacks from Ty's unconscious mind. Ty, first meeting Amy, they didn't like each other initially. Jack's wisdom and taking Ty in. Ty and Amy gradually falling in love. Lou helping him. Glimpses of Lindy showing him her horse. All memories fragmentary and incomplete. Kissay couldn't tell if they were real memories or dreams after the shock. He woke up hours later in hospital bed, lying motionless. Through glass door saw Lou and agents consoling her outside. Ty realized just days ago he had perfect life at Silver Creek, finding his love for horses, place full of friends, only to discover it might all be pretentious and fake. The episode ended with Ty lying on hospital bed staring at ceiling, his confusion endless, unable to tell what's real anymore. Join us next time to see how Ty begins the impossible journey of rediscovering his identity. If this episode broke your heart, please like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Cowboys and Cattle.